Y'all doing? So, there's a YouTuber. His name is Professor Geek. He's a comic book YouTuber. He's really good. He's a writer, a professor, and all that type of stuff. And I used to watch his videos before I started doing my own. I still do watch his videos from time to time on like writing and different characters and stuff like that because we have similar interests in that way. He he has a formula. Sort of when he does, he researches mythology and characters and stuff like this. And he has this formula that he set up that I want to use to sort of use and mold it into the wrestling context. And it's called the Aspirational Hero and the Cathartic Motivational Hero. So what we're going to do is we're going to twist this a little bit and apply it to Babyfaces in pro wrestling. And we'll talk about two different kinds of Babyfaces: the aspirational Babyface and the cathartic motivational Babyface. This is going to be based off the research of Michael Kretzer, who is Professor Geek, and I'm going to put maybe a link to one of his videos and maybe a link to his blog in the description. So if you're interested, you can actually learn more about it from him directly. So what are these things? What are these things I'm talking about here? So the aspirational hero is a simply good person, right? It is being good, being a hero is in their nature. They don't have to overcome any type of flaws or any personal trauma. They are the standard of heroism, the ultimate in virtues. They are in some ways very unrealistic in their beauty and greatness. They always do the right thing. They cause us to believe in ourselves or to see us as the best versions of ourselves. They are encouraging. They are uplifting. And his chief example is Superman. That Superman as a character is, for some people, they think it's boring. But for other people, they are empowered by Superman. They want to be more like Superman. You know, Wonder Woman is another one he uses often when it comes to the aspirational hero. Now, if you look at the aspirational hero, the examples that he gave, Superman is an alien and Wonder Woman is not human, right? Or she's at least, I think she's half human. I don't know my Wonder Woman, but that's an aspirational hero. So aspirational hero is someone who is simply a good person naturally, that people like naturally, and can set the standards morally and as far as being virtuous on their own. So the cathartic motivational is it's not the opposite, because the opposite would be a villain. But the cathartic motivational hero is someone who is morally compromised to a degree. They act out of emotion. They're very rash. They're good-hearted overall. They're a good person, and they fall. They make mistakes, and they dust themselves off. They learn from it. That's important that they learn from it, and they come back stronger, better, smarter, and it's a more realistic version of a hero. So the two examples that he give for the cathartic motivational hero are Batman and Spider-Man. So Batman is morally compromised, right? He's a vigilante. He beats up people, but Batman is trying to overcome his trauma, the trauma of seeing his parents get murdered in the street, right? That's the thing that Batman tackles every day. You know, that's why he sees the corruption of Gotham and he wants to stop it, to prevent other people from having to deal with the pain that he's dealing with, even though he's in his 30s or 40s or whatever now. And Spider-Man is another one. He's Spider-Man, when he initially got his powers, he didn't care about being a superhero. He didn't want to be a superhero. He wanted to be a pro wrestler. That's why this kind of makes sense, right? Because the Spider-Man story is he kind of wanted to go out and make money. He was tired of being poor. He wanted to use his powers to make money. And then he found out that by not utilizing the power that he had, he caused Uncle Ben to die. And because Uncle Ben died, with him not using his power, he realized with great power comes great responsibility. And he had to pick himself up and learn from that. He morally failed. And now he's got to live with that weight. Spider-Man is a character that is really weighed down a lot. Like some people call it the Uncle Ben curse, that Spider-Man absolutely feels like he actually has to interject himself all the time to the point where he has no personal life, he has no social life, because he's weighed down by the fact that his inability or his refusal to act is what got Uncle Ben killed. So that's what makes the character interesting, right? So what is an aspirational babyface in a wrestling context? I'm pretty sure if you if you listen, then you probably had one pop into your head. But I'm not going to use that one, at least not right now. Let's talk about Bruno Sammartino. You know, he was a cultural icon, cultural hero. You know, the big Italian. I don't know if Bruno ever worked heel. You know, I've never read anywhere. I've read a couple of history books. I've never heard of Bruno working heel. Bruno is a guy who always seemed to be upright. He's always forward. He always did the right thing. He always, took down the heels and my favorite Bruno moment isn't even from his heyday. My favorite Bruno moment is, and what shows me that he's sort of an aspirational hero, is when Bruno is already washed up. It's in the 80s. And Randy Savage is gloating about how he crushed Ricky Steamboat's throat. And Bruno was like, "You piece of garbage, you're laughing about it." And he started trying to choke Randy Savage, right? He's trying to choke Randy Savage. And Bruno was an old man at this point, but his age didn't matter. This violated him. He considers this a violation. Randy Savage is a scum of the earth. Old or not, he has got to go. He's compelled to do the right thing. That's virtue, when you're compelled to do the right thing. That's unbelievable stuff, man. And I really loved it. Another one, I'm just mentioning him, is Ricky Steamboat, as another aspirational hero. When you look at Ricky Steamboat, he's a family man. He's always been the best, worked really hard, never bragged, never boasted, always very humble, and it was, everybody watched Ricky Steamboat and was kind of like, wow, I wish I could do that. I wish my arm drags were as good as his. Wish my drop kick was as good as his. He had virtues. He had character. He was moral. He was, at a time too, that was kind of turning on that kind of thing. Cause he was, I want conservative, but not in a political sense, man, juxtaposed to Ric Flair, who was, flashy and over the top. Flair definitely had more kids than Steamboat, but Steamboat was a family man and Flair was a partier. So you have the aspirational hero of Ricky Steamboat, who is the humble working man, but he's got incredible skill, incredible talent. People want to be like him. Another good example of the aspirational heroes is actually three of them. Is Devon Eriks in World Class Championship Wrestling. Kevin, Kerry, and David. And they were just good old boys, right? They were as pure as the driven snow. Devon Eriks were just like, they were the guardians of Texas. They had these values, and they were a family. They had family values. They had Christian values. They didn't lie, and I remember when David actually left Texas to go to Florida, and he kind of did a heel turn there. They denied that it actually happened. That's a lie, right? But the Eriks didn't say. Well, yes, they did, because Kevin said it didn't happen. But that was really like the only blemish on their whole ordeal, is that they tried to deny that David went rogue in Florida. But the point was that they were, the heroes of Texas. They were the boys. Everybody who wanted sons like Devon Eriks. They were big, athletic boys. They were tough. You couldn't mess with them. They took up for each other, even though they were full grown men. They took up for each other, and it seemed they had a bond, a relationship, not just with each other, but with the fans, that was so powerful that it still resonates with some people today. Like, Devon Eriks were really big in Dallas. Like, they were the shit. So we can't ignore it anymore. You got to talk about Hulk Hogan, right? Hulk Hogan, say your prayers, take your vitamins. Hulk Hogan is the ultimate aspirational hero as far as pro wrestling is concerned. And I think they may have mentioned that he was a heel when he initially came back. Cause I think Bob Backlund maybe fucked up and said that Hulk Hogan was there before and that he was a heel when he was there before. But when Hulkamania started running wild, dog, Hulk Hogan was the biggest. This is why Hulk Hogan is the biggest name in wrestling, because he's an aspirational hero. He was a hero to children and to adults. He represented values that everybody wanted to espouse. You know, he had an unshakable belief in himself. He had an unshakable belief in his faith. He was always, you know, there. He always did the right thing. Hogan, you know, he cut some corners only if the other guy cut corners too. You know, he didn't want to fight his friends. He always believed in the goodness of people. That's another thing that a lot of baby faces don't really do. You know, and another one that I'm going to mention in a minute, he always also believes in the goodness of people. But this is a very powerful thing for me. Like, Hulk Hogan was always the guy people turned heel on, right? Like when Andre turned heel, or when Mr. Wonderful turned heel. You know, Hogan always believed that you really don't want to do this. You know, like, there is something within you, man. It's broken, but we can fix it, man. We can bring you back to the light. You know, he was like that with Randy Savage too. He always believed that, you know, when his friends were turning on him, that it could be fixed. You know, then of course they would have to go and do something that would take it way too far in order to build the heat for the match. Like when Andre turned and he ripped the cross from Hogan's neck and scratched his chest. That was, you know, he attacked his faith. So Hogan is shaking up. Why? You know. Ultimate Warrior is another one, another aspirational hero. Even though the Ultimate Warrior seemed like a blank slate, but he was massive, you know, and he was uplifting because he was kind of crazy. But if you sit back and listen to some of the stuff that he was saying about drawing power from the fans and giving power back to them, and, you know, all this metaphysical close the cockpit door, Hulk Hogan, all this kind of crazy stuff, it was insane, you know, but it was energy he was sharing with the audience and receiving from the audience that made so many people buy into, you know, the Ultimate Warrior character. You know, that's what I always believe, is the Ultimate Warrior thing. Another aspirational hero, is probably the last one I'm going to talk about, is Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is the ultimate babyface. The smallest guy on the roster, the biggest heart, the bravest guy. He's always going to fight. But he also always believes in the goodness of people. You know, like, even when people beat him up, he always believes, like, you know, you didn't really mean it. You know, like it's okay. You know, I'm a crash dummy. It's all right. We could talk it out. Like when Batista turned on Rey Mysterio, and Rey's like, "Why?" You're like, "Why, man? Like, Dave, you're my friend. What are you doing?" And, you know, when Eddie turned on Rey Mysterio, it was the same thing. Like, "Bro, what's going on? You're my family." You know, whenever somebody beats up Rey Mysterio, he just kind of has this, like, why? Why would you do that? You know, like, there's goodness inside you. I've seen it, you know. Like, the entire feud with Seth Rollins started because Rey Mysterio was being nice. Like, the whole entire feud was Rey being nice. You know, he'll talk about, "Seth, I want to congratulate you, man. It's going to be a blessing that you're going to be a father. It's going to be great." And then Seth Rollins was like, "Ugh, what the fuck?" But that's why Rey sells so many masks and everything. It's not just that he's colorful, and like that all adds up to it. But Rey Mysterio is a draw because he's pure. You know, you never see Rey Mysterio really doing something that's bad. You know, you never see him like out and out breaking the rules. Unless, you know, somebody else broke the rules first, or somebody's trying to cheat or something. Like, you're trying to cheat him, and it's okay. Like, but he doesn't go out with the intention of breaking any rules or, you know, doing anything that's untoward. He's Rey Mysterio, you know. So let's talk about the cathartic motivational heroes, which is a little bit different, because you talk about overcoming trauma, being morally gray in a sense. but still having a good nature, still having a good heart. Number one on this list, Eddie Guerrero, right? Because Eddie Guerrero, you got this guy talking about the drugs and the alcohol, his struggles with DUIs, and all. And if you're thinking I'm going to take Jeff Hardy next, I am. Okay, it's the same thing. They're not the eternal babyface. Sometimes they're going to slip and fall. Eddie turned heel that one time, right? Because Eddie gets obsessed. He gets in his feelings. He's emotional. He didn't like the concept of people saying that he couldn't beat Ray. He didn't like that. That kind of rubbed him the wrong way. Cathartic motivational heroes can make that mistake. They get a little vicious. They get a little angry. They get a little fire in them. Jeff Hardy is another one. Jeff made all these mistakes in his career. Made all these mistakes in his life, but he owned up to it. He kept trying to be better. He kept trying to better himself. He wanted other people to better themselves. He talked about bettering yourself. He talked about getting over it. And as weird that people did not like the Sheamus storyline, it was great for Jeff Hardy. It should have made him one of the biggest baby faces ever, because you got a guy who's facing not only a opponent who's bigger than him, but he's talking about fighting something that is metaphysical. That is his desire to drink, his desire, his past as a fuck up that people, this guy essentially was raised in front of us because, he was 17 when he signed his contract. So we've seen Jeff Hardy on TV for 25 years or something like that. And we've seen the ups and the downs. But we all know that, all in all, Jeff has always been Jeff. He's always been a good guy. He's always been the daredevil, willing to do whatever it takes. And he's never been a heel in WWE. Well, I think he was a heel when he was in a tag team. But I don't think solo Jeff has ever been a heel in WWE. I think they may have teased it. a little bit before he left. But I'm not so sure if they actually went full with it. Another cathartic motivational hero in the WWF was Randy the Macho Man Savage. When you look at Randy Savage, especially his character after he comes out of being the Macho King. So the Macho King is defeated by the Ultimate Warrior. He's humiliated, right? The Macho King was the scum of the fucking earth. I mean, he had abused Elizabeth and got rid of her and replaced her with Sherry. He had, cracked the Ultimate Warrior in the head with his goddamn scepter. He had done horrible things to people, horrible things to Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire. He's just like a dog shit person. But after WrestleMania 7, I believe it was it 7 or was it 6? It was 7. The match he had the Ultimate Warrior. And he was down and Sherry was kicking him. And Sherry was shitting on Randy Savage because he lost and he had to leave the WWE. And then Elizabeth helped him. Elizabeth saved him. And that turned him. Right? After that, Randy Savage never turned heel in the WWE again. Why? Because he was using her to overcome his dastardly Macho King status. All the evil shit that he had done, now has to make up for it. He has to make up to Elizabeth, for being such a bad person. This would made, the whole match made in heaven storyline, even though it led to Jake Snake Roberts and that goddamn python in a match that nobody remembers. But everybody remembers the python though. But that was the thing about Randy Savage, that you could be a bad man and you can reform yourself with the love of a good woman. That's a fucking hell of a story, and it's a great story for the women because, women, they like to tame the bad guy. They want to be able to turn the bad guy good. And that's what Elizabeth got to do, and in some ways, Elizabeth was a aspirational babyface as well, that she was always pure. She was always, virtuous. She never interfered. She never cheated on, Randy Savage's behalf. And the worst thing they could have done was take her to WCW and turn her heel. That was fucking stupid. You ruined it. Like, that's no, you don't understand characters. You take Miss Elizabeth and you put her in a short skirt and have her fuck around with the NWO. That's stupid. Another one is Dusty Rhodes. So Dusty Rhodes is another cathartic motivational hero, in so much that Dusty Rhodes doesn't shy away from being a heel. You know, the Texas Outlaws, or was it, or something like that. His team with Dick Murdoch. He did not shy away from that Dusty Rhodes. He basically said that the people, you know, the energy, the emotions that you guys give me, it pushes me forward. It reminds me that what I was doing was wrong. You know, and then he starts talking about the blue collar stuff, being the son of a plumber. You know, I know what it's like to be down. I know what it's like to not have anything. You know, and that Dusty was amazing. It was deep, dog. Um, Dusty was deep. Dusty went deep. You know, he did not shy away from being, you know, heel Dusty either. You know, but he realized that the fans were the ones who were turning him face, and they really loved him, and you know, they loved him for him, and so he was able to just give that back. And so the last cathartic motivational hero I would mention is going to be Mick Foley. When you look at Mick Foley and look at the character of Mankind, Mankind was incredibly distant. As far as, you know, he was distant, he was sadistic, he was crazy, did a lot of ill stuff when he was Mankind. But ultimately he was just looking for acceptance. He was insecure. He had never really been a huge success anywhere outside of, you know, maybe ECW or, you know, some deathmatch place. So he was looking for a connection. He was looking to overcome. He didn't have the traditional body type. He didn't have the traditional look. He didn't have the traditional work style. He had to overcome all this stuff. And still, you know, even when you had Mankind, you still saw good things about Mankind. Even when he was a dastardly heel, he had like a pet rat, you know? Like, it's always something when you see somebody caring for something, you know? When you see somebody caring for something, you know that there's some goodness in them somewhere. It's all about bringing it out, right? So when you saw Mankind with the rat, yes, it was meant to be gross and weird and stuff like that, yeah. But it was also meant to show you that as violent as this man is, there is some decency inside of him. There is a good nature in there somewhere. It just has to come out. And of course, over time, we started to see the good nature of Mankind come out. And sometimes he would slip and fall. Again, he would make these moral failings. He became a pretty good babyface against Triple H when he first turned face. And then he slipped because he wanted to be accepted by Mr. McMahon. He wanted to be the champion. He was tempted by the devil. You know, the devil tempted him with the title, like, hey, come get it. Mankind bit, got stung, because it wasn't for him. It was for The Rock. You know, they fucked him over, gave the belt to The Rock. But that only showed us how motivational it could be, because this guy really wanted it. He wanted it so bad, he was sold us out for it. And then, you know, once he became, that Mick Foley, the WWE champion, he never really worked heel again until like 2006. You know, when he turned heel in the feud with Ric Flair, he never really worked heel again. You know, at least I don't think so. I don't remember Mankind working heel after 98, 99. You know, it was always Foley is good, right? Everybody remember those signs, Foley is God, and he would say, no, it's Foley is good. You know, cheap pops, being super friendly, you know, Santa Mick, all that type of stuff. It was all after he had come to grips with, you know, all the trauma of the Mankind character, of having to deal with being insecure, not having the look, not having the approach to the business, not having the work ethic, you know, the body type and everything. He had to overcome all that stuff. You know, he was kind of, he's kind of like our Hunchback, you know, our Hunchback of Notre Dame, you know? So, you know, it's a great story, you know, and it's a fabulous thing. Like, you can really use Mankind and Mick Foley in a lot of archetypal stories. You know, it's really great. But this is just me talking about Babyfaces. I want to learn a little bit more about Michael Chrysler's his formulation of heels or villains, and I'm going to definitely do one on villains. But what did you guys think about this video? Like the video, share. Please share and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.